What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well. And yeah, I'm going to be back this week with normal uploads. So I'll be uploading Sunday right through to Thursday this week. So do make sure you have your post notifications turned on. And as you can see, I have the economic calendar up here to our right just to see what to expect this week. And we do have PPI. So Thursday is definitely, well, you can see we have a lot of news on Thursday, high impact news on Thursday. So I'm expecting Thursday to give us quite a lot of nice movement. Monday, Tuesday, I'm not expecting too much. We do have the Fed Chair Powell speech. Now, generally when this happens, what you'll find is that there's movement later on in the day, about 2 p.m. New York time, and it'll tend to like do a lot of movement then and then go into some kind of consolidation as it moves into the Wednesday. So realistically this week for me, I'm not really looking to trade until Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to let Monday and Tuesday do its thing, especially so that the Fed Chair Powell speech can get out of the way, because like I said, there tends to be a lot of manipulation around this high impact news event. But yeah, I hope that will make sense. Basically looking for Thursday for my main move, but looking at my positions on Wednesday and then maybe Friday, depending on how price is moving. So let's get rid of this for now. And you'll see we're here on the weekly on dollar, and we had a beautiful up close week, just as anticipated last week. And it's in line with my bias in wanting to see a continuation to the upside. So I'm going to get a few things marked out. So first I want to get this buy side liquidity pool above this high marked out, as this is where I'm looking for price to be trading to. So let's get that delineated as buy side liquidity. In fact, let's use a ray for this horizontal ray. And this is going to be our buy side liquidity target. Now we might reach this actually. Yeah, that's a pretty fair high to reach for. Now I am looking at this high as well, and these highs on a weekly in terms of where we may want to rebalance with, but I think on the daily is probably going to be the best shout for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out this as a weekly high as well, just because price may want to tap into it as a rebalance. Previous weekly high, old weekly high. And that would be the very lowest I'd be happy for price to trade. Any lower than that, I'd be a bit concerned, especially with how bullish we are right now. And this is where I'm going to be looking. So let's go down to the daily, and hopefully this will make a little bit more sense. And you can see the kind of price action we have going here. You can see how we came down, traded down nicely into this fair value gap, and had another expansion. So this acted as a proportion block. So the same thing I'm pretty much expecting. I'm now expecting these down close candles to act as a proportion block the same way to help push price forward and higher up in towards that weekly buy side liquidity pool. Now you can see that we filled our fair value gap here, which I drew our attention to last week between this low and this high. If we drag that through, you can see our price has filled that quite nicely and instantly left it. So I'm expecting it to reaccumulate, and like I said, I'm looking at that previous weekly high as to where price may want to bounce off. We also have a slight gap between this high and this low as to where price may want to drop into, and then see some kind of continuation to the upside. To help this as well, you can see there's this massive consolidation. Now the reason I'm bringing our attention to this is because you can see that we've traded through it quite nicely. This is very low, as you can see, low resistance movement down. So from here to here, you can see how much low resistance there is because of the back and forth price action. However, on the way up, price is just slaughtering through it very easily. And because of this, it means that it shows bullishness, because high resistance suggests that price wants to go the other direction, basically. But what I want to bring our attention to is the volume of it. Mainly so here. I want to try and get it as where's the most volume. And it's mainly between these ranges. Here's another thing. Before I continue, we don't need to be too exact with these things, because it's not the end of the world if we're not, right? If we were to be so exact, we'd never ever be as accurate as we need to be. Anyway, my point is, this is where most of the volume is in the consolidation. And you can see our price is traded up to the high of it, found support at the low of it, and then traded through it nicely on the upside. So that's telling me, moving into the new week, that this should now act as a support level, because for price to get back down through this, so if it was to run out these lows again, it would need a lot of work behind it. It would need some kind of big high impact news event to push it down, because of how high resistance this range is. So as far as I'm concerned, price will only be able to bounce off the high of it to then trade on higher. So that was just for, I just want to draw that out of context. But generally speaking, I'm looking for us to create the low around this level right here. And like I said, there is a slight fair value gap in the discount. So I might as well get these gaps marked out. There's a few gaps, to be honest. We got this gap here, which is a volume imbalance, but then you can see the wicks have traded through it, and it's very slight, but it is there, so we can't really ignore it. There's a gap here as well. Again, another volume imbalance on daily. And then there's on a larger level, there's a gap here as well, fair value, and there's a gap here. So you can see all these little ranges where price will likely want to refer to in the new week. So I'm not going to have them all marked out just because it'll confuse us. I'll just keep this old weekly high marked out, just because I'm happy for price to dip down into there, and we've got some relative equal lows below there. So we might want to see price, accumulate below there, then trade on higher. And then, like I said, I'm expecting us to start working our way up towards the buy side liquidity. So I hope that all makes sense, guys. I think it's definitely best to let Monday trade on the back of this, especially seeing how we've had a level of displacement on the end of last week. I'm not going to be rushing into Monday at all. And like I said, I'm expecting us to, if we're going to have an up close week, I do want to see some kind of low get created, especially liking the look at these lows, this consolidation right here. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let's go to the hourly, not really much. Although I have to say, off the back of this, it's looking quite interesting. But again, I'm probably going to let Monday trade. And like, similar to last week, what may happen is the price might not even bother retrace into the old weekly high, and we might just start rallying and just keep pushing into the highs, and then by the time it gets to Thursday, we are already in a high premium and then get a reversal. And if that's the case, so be it, we will know about it. But right now, based off my weekly analysis and what I'd expect, in terms of wanting to see the low get created, expansion, and then the high get created, then I want to see that happen this week. Obviously, that would be my bias in that, wanting to see us drop below the Sunday opening price, create some kind of low. There's relative equal lows below here, especially again looking at this kind of displacement that we've had. It justifies why we may want to, and then I want to see expansion to the upside, but we can only wait and see. So let's finish up on Euro USD, and we're going to go on the weekly here as well. Obviously, if we're expecting an up close on dollar, we want to see some kind of down close on pound. So we're going to look for premium PD arrays that price may want to refer to before it trades on lower. But generally speaking, I'm looking for price to run below these relative equal lows on the weekly level. So let's get this delineated as sell side liquidity. And then you can see we have a beautiful gap. Oh, it's not even a gap, sorry. We have this large wick, which I'm paying attention to. And I'm looking at the 50% level and 25% level, but also this bullish order block. Now, bearish order block. This bearish order block does seem a little bit ambitious to me as to where a high may get created for the week, whereas the 25% level seems a little bit more achievable. So I'm going to get the 25% level off this weekly wick delineated, just for us to refer to, and I'm going to type weekly 25% wick. So now we have a nice premium PD array that I'm happy for price to trade into before it is to trade on lower. And then I'll be looking for us to obviously fill this wick range and start running into the sell stops. Let's go to the daily, take a closer look, and you'll see we came off these lows quite interestingly. Again, we have a nice rebalance here. So you see this, where this intersection is. Wow. Oh no, there's a gap there. There's a very slight gap there. Okay, even more reason as to why price is going to want to go into that premium, because these haven't even touched yet. So what that's telling me is that there's some rebalancing in this premium, and I'll try and see if I can explain this a little bit more clearly. But this is algorithmic in that because price has failed to rebalance here, it's likely we need some kind of rebalancing before we trade on lower. If it was going to gap, it would have gapped bigger, is what I'm saying. So I think this is kind of hinting at us saying, okay, we're likely going to go up to there. And then what I'm looking at is now this wick down here as to where I'd want to see price trade into. So let's make this orange. And I'm going to treat it as a bearish fair value gap. I'm happy for price to tap into it. So like if it does, it's not the end of the world. But that's where I'm looking for price to rally into before I see some kind of rejection or turnaround within the market. We also have some mitigation, high, low, lower high, and some expansion down. 4 hours should make it a little bit more clear. But basically these large long wicks, this is where I'm expecting a level of rebalancing to happen, and obviously this bearish order block, I want to see price trade into it a little bit more before we do see it roll over and run out these sell stops. So again, I'm going to let Monday trade, and then what I'll do is I'll be doing my normal I'll split up the daily candles. I'll split up the days, and we'll look at the hourly, and we'll be able to really break down price properly and see where we want to see price draw to. But right now, that's what I'm looking at. And then on top of that, obviously, the Sunday opening price is going to make a huge difference. As in, I want to see us rally above it before we trade any lower. Things like that. So that's everything on GBP. We're going to finish this video on Euro USD. Very interesting start to Euro. But nonetheless, let's go to the weekly. I'm going to get rid of a few things. Now, Euro's been significantly weak. But again, I'm looking for us to trade down into our weekly sell stops. And guys, don't get me wrong. I want to make it clear, very well, we could open tomorrow. Price could continue acting like this, and by the time it gets to Monday afternoon, we're already below the sell side liquidity pool. And if that's the case, so be it. We'll simply come back tomorrow, look at price, and figure out where it is it's drawing to, and then how to anticipate it getting there. So, for example, here is my drawn liquidity. We have a nice, clear daily fair value gap down there. So I want to see price continue to draw into that. And if price is going to, be bearish in the early hours, in the early days of the week, this is where I'm expecting to trade to. Same thing with dollar. As much as I've marked out discount PD arrays, I'm looking for us to start trading high up towards these premiums and into this bearish order block. There's premium PD arrays that are waiting to get traded into and filled. So it's not impossible for Monday to just start rallying and run straight into it. It's just that if it doesn't, and we do drop below that Sunday opening price, it should set us up for quite a nice classic week, seeing some kind of lows get created and traded higher. But looking at the bullishness and just how the past previous week has been anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if prices rallied and started going into these premiums. So again, very complicated right now, but there's only so much we can do. But as long as we know where the drawn liquidity is and where it's going and where we can anticipate it to stop or turn around, that's all that matters. We know it's going to go here. Then after it's been there, then what? It's going to retrace, it's going to consolidate, and then we'll either get a continuation or a reversal. It's as simple as that. Let's finish up on the hourly. Oh no, sorry. Let's go to the 4 hour. Any kind of premium, actually it was daily. Not really any premium daily PD arrays. There's been a lot of rebalancing already for price to get down. And what I mean by that is cross paths here. Come back into the range here. So any kind of rallying here, I expect it to be very shallow. I'm looking more so at this range in the premium. Very, very, shallow, as in if we're going to get any rallying, this will be where I want to see it trade into. Let's go to the 1 hour. But you can see we've already had the level of displacement that we've just opened. So like I said, Sunday might just trade lower and then we rally. But I'm looking at the way price is formed, and there's still, some pretty nice premium gaps up here to fill. And this bearish order block, I don't think it's been traded to properly. It's just shy of it. So little things in the premium that price may want to spend time consolidating into it or giving us some high resistance, so it has time to spend around there. But it'll be interesting to see nonetheless. So that's going to be everything, guys. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join the Discord. All the links are in the description. And don't rush into price action. Yes, we've just opened about an hour, not even an hour ago, and you can see this movement. I can imagine how many people are in the market already selling short because they think it's going to be going down. Give the market time. At least let the London session trade on Monday, and then then we can start to figure out where it's joined to. We know it wants to go down here, but how quick is it going to get there? It could get there in London. I could wake up tomorrow morning in London session, see it's down there, and that will completely change everything, and that's completely fine. But I'm saying just give it time, because it's we have it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.